it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry.
Novus Order Seclorum. A new order.
What underpins a world order is always the financial system.
There'll be no more cash.
We're about to abandon the traditional system of money and accounting and introduce a new one.
We're getting ready for this digital what? We're preparing right now to go digital. We're being trained on this.
The new accounting is what we call blockchain. It means digital. It means having a almost perfect record of every single transaction that happens in the economy.
We think CBDC can improve financial inclusion is through what we call programmability. That is, CBDC can allow government agencies and private sector players to program, to create smart contracts, to allow targeted policy functions. For example, welfare payment. For example, consumption coupon. For example, food stamp.
All money will be in your chip.
We have this central bank controlling us and controlling the laws of the nation. And now you see the government talking about these RFID chips going and everything.
Right.
That can track you wherever you go. It's going to be on your license, your driver's license by May 2008. They're telling the states you have to put these chips in the driver's licenses.
It's supposed to be in credit cards. It's supposed to be in everything.
Everything.
In the future.
And they're going to trick people with it. They're going to put it into your bodies.
Right, and it not only in our bodies, in our wallets. You walk But you walk through a turnstile and you have a barcode on something. The transaction's done.
Of course, but I'm saying to you that
And then
it goes in stages first. So you can have it on your driver's license, you can have it on your card, but eventually it's going to end up in your hand.
Yes.
Right, it's going to end up in your hand. So you can have a homing device built into you.
Right.
They can track you wherever they want to track you, wherever you want.
If you have a cell phone or if you have a GPS system in your car, they can do that anyway.
They
but
can.
It's just making it a lot easier.
Well, I mean, it's going to be like a dog.
Right.
If I don't want to be special, I'm not going to bash you. But the fact is that you're not going to be able to start your computer, or you're not going to be able to have a bank account. And if you bash, then all money now becomes digitized. They can take the switch out of you whenever they want to. I mean, they can take your money from you whenever they want to. You have no say.
And this
you owe us this much money. You owe us this much money, and they just take it out of your digit.
The Dutch government has a new bill proposing to monitor all transactions over €100. That's about 100 quid, or indeed $100. All Western currencies are mysteriously converging right now, almost as if in preparation for the introduction of the digital Klaus Schwab mark across the entire Western world. Eva Velardinga broke the least deranged Dutch person in the Netherlands joins me. Can this really be true, Eva, that every single transaction over €100 is now going to be recorded and monitored by the state?
Well, if it's up to our Minister of Finance, Sigrid Kaag, that is exactly what is going to happen. Like you said, she wants to monitor every transaction that we spend. This is very clearly a step towards a monetary system that is surrounded around mass surveillance and control. So if the government knows everything about what you spend your money on, that is only one step ahead from, or away, I would say, from what we discussed last week. And those are the central bank digital currencies. Because €100, come on, that is basically everything nowadays. So, and they also, within this bill, is maybe interesting to mention, they also prohibit the cash payments of over €3,000. So they're already cracking down on the cash too. So it's very clear where they want to go. They want to go to central bank digital currencies, a digital coin that they will control. And in the future, they will also control not just, they won't just see what you spend it on, but they will be the ones deciding what you may spend it on.
The whole agenda is to create a one world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those special, right? There'll be no more cash. And this is giving me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish.
Western countries are about to face arguably the greatest banking crisis that we've ever seen. Now, we've been warning you about this for months on this channel, so hopefully you've been preparing yourself, because now this problem is accelerating right before our eyes. Rich people have already been making major moves to protect themselves, but it's the poor and the middle class which will be screwed unless they make some major pivots. Now, a couple of big data points and pieces of news that I want to bring to your attention, most notably, is China. Now, the West has been sitting back hoping that China continues its ridiculous zero COVID policy, which we all know was a joke. Well, President Xi Jinping last week made some major structural changes that should terrify Western economies. I'll get to China in a minute, but first, the central banks in the United States and Europe have been doing some really shady things that you need to know about. Number one, they are stockpiling gold right now. Just look how much gold they've been quietly buying over the past few weeks. What the hell is going on here? Now, you have a right to ask that question, since the central banks have a currency that is not tied to gold or silver. So why in the heck are they buying up so much gold and silver? The United States Federal Reserve is openly hostile towards gold. Alan Greenspan famously loved gold, but then when he became Federal Reserve Chairman, he couldn't talk about gold anymore because the United States dollar is not tied to gold. And then he left the Federal Reserve chairmanship, and then he suddenly started talking about gold again.
Look, remember what we're looking at. Gold is a currency. It is still, by all evidences, the premier currency where no fiat currency, including the dollar, can match it.
Isn't that amazing how that happens? They can start telling the truth when they're no longer in power anymore. Many of the largest gold transactions over the past few weeks have come from central banks. Guys, it's happening right before our eyes. They're not buying gold just for their health. Well, actually, they are kind of actually buying it for their health if you think about it, but they won't admit it. They won't admit that their government currencies are in a free fall. And last week, we saw the first real indications that the United States dollar is in real decline. Now, for over 10 years, the US dollar and treasury bonds were seen as a hedge against volatility, a safe haven. But with the good CPI numbers and lower yields now for bonds, investors start running back to gold and silver over the last week, away from the US dollar after 10 years. It looks like this dynasty of the US dollar is coming to an end. When you have a central bank with a massive balance sheet that continues to print money, it's only a matter of time before the collapse is bound to happen. Now, we're already seeing it massively in Europe. Just look at what is happening with those ridiculous inflation numbers and the decline of the euro. Now, Western governments, particularly the United States, have been buying gold, but largely unreported is the fact that these Western governments are stealing gold. That's right. Perhaps you know, of course, the story of the United States stealing all of the Iraqi gold, and we most recently stole billions of dollars from Afghanistan. But this is happening in other countries as well, all throughout Africa. If the United States dollar is not tied to gold, then why are we hoarding so much of it? Oh, here is Alan Greenspan on that point. You know, this is after he left office. Watch.
Well, you know what's interesting is gold is still significant. I ask myself if it's a relic of a long history. Why is there $1 trillion held in gold by the world's central banks, plus the IMF and all the other financial institutions? If it's worthless and meaningless, why is everybody still holding it?
Trillions in gold. Why? Well, the answer could be simple. We're scared of it. Bottom line, it's a threat to Western central banks. We are terrified of gold. It's been a stable currency since the Roman Empire tied their currency to gold. So what better way to neutralize something that you're scared of than buy it up, put it in a prison so no one else can have access to it or steal it? Just watch this incredible piece of video that went viral late this week showing the new Italian Prime Minister Meloni slamming the French government for going into Africa and stealing gold from the people in order to keep them under the thumb of Europe, instead of letting these people flourish on their own resources. Watch.
Questo si chiama franco CFA. È la moneta coloniale che la Francia stampa per 14 nazioni africane, alle quali applica il signoraggio e in forza delle quali sfrutta le risorse di questa nazione. Questo è un bambino che lavora in una miniera d'oro in Burkina Faso. Il Burkina Faso è una delle nazioni più povere del mondo. Per il Burkina Faso, che ha l'oro, la Francia stampa moneta coloniale. In cambio pretende che finiscano nelle casse del tesoro francese il 50% di tutto quello che il Burkina Faso esporta. L'oro che questo bambino si infila in un cunicolo per tirare fuori finisce per lo più nelle casse dello Stato francese. Allora la soluzione non è prendere gli africani e spostarli in Europa. La soluzione è liberare l'Africa da certi europei che la sfruttano e consentire a queste persone di vivere di quello.
Hi, my name is Jim Rickards, and I have an important message for all privacy-loving Americans. Something very concerning.
Liberare l'Africa da certi europei che la sfruttano e consentire a queste persone di vivere di quello che hanno.
So the West is stealing Africa's gold, and if that wasn't bad enough, the billionaires at the World Economic Forum this week are now ordering Africa to pay $2.8 trillion to meet its obligations under the Paris Agreement to minimize greenhouse gas emissions. Way to keep your thumb on Africa so they can never climb out beneath the oppression of Europe and the United States. But someone who is not only climbing out from beneath Western power, but is about to surpass Western power, is China and the other BRICS nations. Now, it was fully on display this week at the G20. I really think we saw a major shift at the G20 this week because Russia announced that over a dozen countries have now applied for membership to join the BRICS nations being Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, who have a currency now that is backed by gold. Iran, Argentina, and Algeria have formally applied. Iran, alongside Russia, India, and China, is already part of the Eurasian Quad, which is very strong. Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Afghanistan are extremely interested in becoming members. They are mineral rich. Indonesia just applied in Bali this week. And then there's the next wave, Kazakhstan, the United Arab Emirates, Thailand, possibly applying this week in Bangkok, Nigeria, Senegal, Nicaragua. If these nations join BRICS, that would represent roughly 45% of the confirmed global oil reserves and over 60% of confirmed natural gas reserves. That combined GDP in today's figures would be roughly $29 trillion. That's much larger than the United States at 20.
Shalom, shalom. This is the brother Kadar of GMS Gulf Coast. I'd like to start by giving all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak, Wadash. Double honors given up to the apostle elders of Great Millstone, men who have labored and suffered in this truth for over 30 plus years, making their lives and their bodies a living sacrifice. I send a shalom to the hopefully elect, the 1/3 of the nation of Israel, that innumerable number, that innumerable multitude, speckled birds scattered throughout the four winds of planet Earth, which consists of men, women, and children. Also, like to send a shalom to the various GMS camps, elders, and heads. And last but not least, I'd like to send a shalom to any of you Akim not named GMS, but walk in one spirit, one body, and Yahweh Shai. To you all, shalom. Prepare for the third world's woe. Prepare. Those are a few clips that I pulled, that I played. One of them was coming. One of the brothers that did one on another platform, and actually just played the audio. Didn't want to actually play the video. Giving the little tiptoeing you have to do when it comes to trying to get this information out. Willing this gets out. But yes, it's over with. The American dollar, this fiat dollar, is done. It's done. They still, you heard the report, they stealing gold. The United States been going in these different countries, waging war, stealing resources and the gold. Taking possession of the land, which is rich in poppy and opioids and things of that such. The jig is up. And now here you have China and Russia and them, leading the pack in these BRICS nations. I did a video on that a while back, where they're standing up to contest this fiat currency. But mind you, we're not, for the Second Corinthians or First Corinthians 2:11, at least Satan get an advantage of us. We're not ignorant to his devices. Mind you, that the people who have set up the Federal Reserve and the IMF, World Bank, and all of that, they're the same people who are behind the BRICS and their setup of their new currency. Same people. Mind you, the people who are behind all of this bringing down of the U.S. currency are the ones that are behind the propping up of the new world currency. Why is that? This is Psalms 49:11. It reads, "Their inward thoughts is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling place to all generations. They call their lands after their own names." Yeah. See, secretly, these people think, and when I say these people, the ones that are funding that are funding these militaries, these governments, to go into this country and strategically go into this country and steal and confiscate the gold. It's going to the top people, to the top elite families. Just like that's why I brought out that. Matter of fact, let me bring out that scripture real quick. Let me pull it. I had quoted it. I may have got it wrong. Let's see. Is it 2 Corinthians 2:11? I think it's 1 Corinthians 2:11. You can't be ignorant of it. Yeah, this is 2 Corinthians 2:11. It reads, "At least Satan should get an advantage of us. We are not ignorant of his devices." So we understand that, that the people who are behind all this, I'm talking about the ones that you never see face plastered across the news media, their names for the most part are never never or hardly ever mentioned on these mainstream news platforms. These are the people who are behind it. And they're taking off one pair of pants, which is the Western powers, and putting on another pair of pants, which is the revise of Europe again, the Eastern powers. But the Lord has got to, just, so like I was saying, hey, all of this is going to be brought to a streaking hope. A streaking hope. Then now it says right here, this is Job 14:5, and it reads, it says, seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Who's with thee? The Most High, Yahweh, the Heavenly Father. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. So no, it's, this is all in vain. They're rounding up all the golds and all the riches and whatnot. You had Queen Elizabeth, that knuckle dragon, cave maggot Edomite. She just passed it not too long ago, and all of the riches and the things that her family has stolen, over in Buckingham Palace, and between them, they between them and the Vatican, they have all these riches and underground tunnels and bunkers and all, they're gonna have to vomit it up. Matter of fact, all the riches that they have stole, they're collecting this because this is gonna be part of the this is gonna be part of that Jake down there, harassing these politicians about reparations. But the whole time the Lord is gathering up the reparations for Israel. They ain't got no faith in the Lord, though. They down here asking this man for fiat currency when all the signs point to this man's way of running things is over. So what's that going to leave? How is that going to leave the Western world? They're going to be left out in the cold if they have their way. You understand? Because the Russians, the Chinese, the Brazilians, the South Africans, they don't care nothing about the U.S. or their people. They see you as a proud bunch of proud children that need to be taught a lesson. And that's why things are amping up. Everything's it's speeding up, you know. But this is Job 20 and 15. It reads, "He has swallowed down riches and shall vomit them up again. God shall cast them out of his belly." All the little hiding spots, the little secret places that you're not allowed, you know, the Smithsonian Institutes down in the basements and whatnot, where they have all the artifacts of the ancients. You know what I'm talking about? All of these things, for the most part, that are still around, they're gonna vomit it all back up. And then the reparations gonna kick in, you know, where these people are going into hard bondage, hard slavery, you know. The tables will be turned, you know. The table shall be turned. But this is all setting up for you know, for the control of each individual human being. You know, if you're not able to buy, sell, and pay your bills and maybe to go purchase some food to feed your household or to pay your bills to keep you in that house, you know, they're gonna make it very extreme out here. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna make it very, very tough out here. Your faith is gonna be tested, and as we see already, 2/3 of our people, you know what I'm saying, when they came out with the CV Axle 19 and the vacations and all that whatnot, you know, first thing they did, you know, they was running down to Egypt. They was running to the government. They was seeking to the government for help. And what did the government have? Hey, hold your arm out here. Let's put this tourniquet on it and pop it a few times and stick this snake vein in you, the snake tooth in you. That's their remedy for you. Huh? You trust in these people gonna put your ass to death. Point blank, period. You so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans better wake up ASAP and repent. You know, take heed to the crying out that's being done out there on the highways and edges, on these videos that you see, that you ignore, you brush by, looking for some world star hip hop, some you know, some foolishness, you know, Fairy Island and all that other madness. You know what I'm talking about? You better wake up quick, fast, and hurry, because, like, you know, it's just like the elder apostle Tahar said, this is the year Yahweh Bashim Yahushua turn it up in this place. When it's being turned up, things are being sped up. It's going to be a big old fight going to break out about this gold and whatnot, you know. But before that, that's going to be civil unrest that's going to happen here in the West. You've been shielded so far. But in the end, all hell is going to break loose, you know, for lack of better words, old saying, old cliche they say in the world, all hell is going to break loose. And that's Jacob's trouble. You know, that's Jacob's trouble. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find it real quick. I think it is. Let's see. That time is rapidly approaching. That time is rapidly approaching. I don't think I found it. Let's see. 30 and 7. Maybe it's Jeremiah 30 and 7. Anyway, that time is rapidly approaching, you know, these disturbing days. I mean, the disturbing times. Oh, this is it right. It's Jeremiah 30 and verse 7. It reads, "Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it." The only ones who can be saved out of Jacob's trouble is the 1/3 of the nation of Israel. That's it. Not you hardcore Baptists, not you hardcore Methodists, Protestants, Catholics, you know, Jehovah's Witnesses, Seventh-day Adventists. And any of you jakes, worshiping that madness, Mormon, though, that Mormon bull, better wake up. You better wake up. Because the currency, as you know it, is done. You just, it's just the people have faith in the government. Therefore, the fiat currency that they issue, it has purchasing power because you have faith in the government. That's it. That's the only reason this stuff is still afloat right now. Because you have faith in the government. So therefore, they study issuing out this inflated fiat currency, which you heard the man say it's backed by nothing. Alex Spann, or whatever his name was, when he became the chairman of the Fed, he couldn't say a word about this until he gave up that post and went back into private living. Then he was able to speak out against these things. That fiat currency ain't backed by nothing but faith. The faith that you have in your government. That's it. So you have to ask yourself, when you get that paycheck, what are you receiving? More debt. That's it. When you read that note, it says Federal Reserve note. Just like a car note, house note. That's a debt. That's debt. Paper currency is man-made and represents a lack of virtue and promotes a life of excuses. That's all it does. Lord willing, it was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the Apostle Elders, Great Millstone. Shalom.